Hi, welcome to your carrier update brought to you by PowerFleet. I'm Mike Vincent. That's the camera I'm supposed to be looking at, and he is Zach Strickland. How are you, my friend?
I am well, Michael Vincent,
Awesome.
and it is a Thursday, mid-September-ish. So what does that mean for the freight market?
Mid-September, it's just past mid-September.
Yeah, mid-September.
The Ides of September.
Yeah.
No, wait, that's the wrong month. Okay, go ahead.
It typically means that things kind of level out. We normally see the, Labor Day kind of spikes things up a little bit, and things kind of like hover around here. Obviously, last year, who knows? we had a lot of volatility last year, but most of the year it looks relatively similar to this, where you kind of just even keel out.
There's not a huge Halloween spike.
It's not we're not looking for any kind of dramatic changes right now in the freight market, and that is exactly what's happening. Tender rejection rate hovering right around 21.6%. Up, down a little bit every day. Not a lot of dramatic shifts here, but I think something that we can look for is, in last year, we have seen, since we are seeing an elevated tender rejection index, we did see a little bit of a bump towards the end of September, and it was extremely rocky. And I think that's something that we're going to continue to see.
It feels like we should, right? I mean, when we just talked about 61 ships in San Pedro Bay. That freight's got to hit something somewhere, right? I mean, it's not going to fly drone across the country this year.
Demand still going to keep a lot of pressure on this market.
21 to 22% rejection means supply's not keeping up with that demand.
Not at all. Nothing's changing. We saw that. I talked about that trend line earlier. That's kind of changed out here. We thought, it looked like things were going to kind of gradually.
You went way out on that limit and said 16% not going to happen, right?
Oh, I pretty much said no way. I was like, I love the smooth line here, but it's just not in the cards.
Got a bend in it now, man.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and look at our next graph here. So this is our spot rates. So spot rates after Labor Day, according to TruckStop.com's top 100 for van, reefer, and flatbed. Big takeaway here, huge drops for reefer and van spot rates. But again, they were extremely high.
Last week, right?
Yeah, that's week over week. And again, these have a little bit of a lag to them. You're talking about, this is the Labor Day run-up that we saw.
Sure.
And in the tender rejection indexes and tender volumes, we saw this kind of early jump in volumes and rejection rates. It was like a week before Labor Day. Same thing happened here. Spot rates shot up in front of the holiday a little bit faster, and then after the holiday, things stabilizing. But again, Hurricane Ida also having an impact.
Hurricane had it, and wouldn't there be a little bit of pressure? So the pull forward to get that freight moving, right? We saw it a week earlier, right? So now the carrier's a little bit more resistant to promise a repositioning of their equipment 2 weeks earlier.
Exactly.
And that would drive the price up.
Exactly.
So there's some repositioning costs associated with that huge run up as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, gotcha.
And we saw the lead times. We talked about it last week. Lead times increased. We saw this kind of early Labor Day, like shippers actually getting ready for the holiday.
Which is odd.
That is different. That is a shifting dynamic, is that shipper behavior is changing. And of course, everybody kind of doing the same thing all at once. Huge spike.
Absolutely.
And again, it fell back, but it fell back to June.
It fell back
and that's reefer.
to pre-holiday going up.
And not to be ignored here, though, flatbed spot rates.
Flatbed's up, which is a good sign economically, isn't it?
That's that industrial sector. Well, Anthony may bring out his index.
I have to talk to Anthony about that.
Let's go ahead and check out the next, I believe it's the tree map of all the rates here. So we've got everything's coming down except for a few spots around the country. And again, this is probably a week or two lag in terms of overall action. So, spot rates do have a 7 to 10 day kind of window there that they're actually being invoiced, et cetera. So, last week, probably, we see a lot of Atlanta here. Atlanta showing up on the map. And we saw Atlanta before the holiday.
In the green, though.
Atlanta showing significant ups, I should say. There's significant ups. Atlanta pretty consistently on there. Everywhere else, though, coming down week over week. So certainly something to watch for. But
that Elk Ridge to Hartford fell all the way to $5.28.
Yeah. Going into the Northeast, still extremely pricey. I think another big takeaway here is looking directionally at a lot of these rates. Going into Dallas, rate relatively low. Going into the Northeast, rates relatively high. If you looked at this on a map, you would see going into backhaul markets still extremely elevated. I mean, $5 a mile. That is not a minimum either. That's a Maryland to Hartford, Connecticut. That is not a minimum. So you're not seeing some sort of
it's not a minimum rate, right? You're not seeing it hit that minimum.
And then going into Los Angeles, $1.28 from Salt Lake City. Imagine that.
Somebody knows what they're doing.
Moving into Los Angeles,
to me, right?
Yeah, right.
That's where you want to go, is it not?
Yeah. I mean, we saw the boats.
Yeah, we saw the boats. Yeah, exactly. So excellent. We'll catch up to you a little bit later in the show. Thank you so much for that. Let's toss it over to Kaylee Nix. I believe she's got Eric Coolidge with him.